Jorginho says he's still struggling to come to terms with Italy's failure to qualify for the World Cup in Qatar. The Chelsea midfielder blamed himself for his side's failure to reach a second successive World Cup after missing 2 penalties in qualifying. The European champions then suffered a shock 1-0 home defeat by North Macedonia in a playoff last week. Jorginho wrote on Instagram, "In life and football, you can win or lose, but there are defeats that are more painful than others. Believe me, my sorrow is bigger than you imagine. Football is not just a sport, it's a school of incredible values. It teaches you to never give up, learn from mistakes, remain united in tough moments." Jorginho admitted his missed penalties in qualifying will haunt him for the rest of his life. The Chelsea midfielder had the chance to give 4-time World Cup winners Italy victory over Switzerland, which would have put his team on the brink of qualification, but blazed his late spot kick over the bar in a 1-1 draw in November. Jorginho also missed a penalty in the 0-0 stalemate between the two sides earlier on in Group C of World Cup qualifying. "We played good football, we won the European Championship last summer, but unfortunately in the last few games we made small errors and were unable to recover from them. They made the difference," a tearful Jorginho told Raw Esport. "It hurts when I think about it, because I do still think about it and it will haunt me for the rest of my life. Stepping up there twice and not being able to help your team and your country is something that I will carry with me forever, and it weighs on me. People say we need to lift our heads and carry on, but it's tough." The National Federation confirmed the Everton midfielder would not be available for matches against Peru and Argentina, nor this summer's tournament. James Rodriguez has been ruled out of Colombia's upcoming World Cup qualifiers against Peru and Argentina, and the subsequent Copa America this summer. The Everton midfielder had been called up by manager Reinaldo Rueda for the qualifying fixtures and the South American regional tournament, but will no longer be available as Colombia look to take steps towards reaching Qatar in 2022. James, the primary creative force in the Colombian team, has suffered from injury issues throughout the 2020-21 campaign and was rested for Everton's final Premier League game against Manchester City in a bid to be fit, but to no avail. The former Real Madrid and Bayern Munich attacking midfielder remains an essential part of the Colombia setup and will be sorely missed at the Copa America, which they were due to co-host with Argentina, only to recently lose hosting rights due to ongoing protests against President Ivan Duque. They are in Group B alongside holders Brazil, Venezuela, Ecuador and Peru for the 10-team tournament. The top 4 in each pool qualify for the quarterfinals. Before that, Colombia travel to Peru on June 4 and then host Argentina 5 days later in the Kimball section of World Cup qualifying. They opened their Copa America campaign on June 15 against Ecuador. Colombia have made an underwhelming start to World Cup qualifying with just 4 points from their opening 4 games in the 10-team league, with only the top 4 qualifying automatically. This included a 6-1 defeat to Ecuador in their opening match. Italy missed out on the World Cup finals again after losing 1-0 at home to North Macedonia in their playoff semi-final as Aleksandar Trajkovski's last-gasp strike earned the visitors a famous win. Italy did not qualify for the World Cup 4 years ago, missing out for the first time since 1958, but the European champions dominated from the off in Palermo. The hosts became more desperate in their search for a winner after the break, however, as chances continued to come and go before. In stoppage time, Trajkovski arrowed in a stunning winner to spark wild North Macedonian celebrations. Liverpool star Andy Robertson led Scotland out on the pitch against Ukraine last night as they aimed to make the finals of the FIFA World Cup in Qatar later this year. The last time they qualified for the FIFA WC was all the way back in 1998. Since then, they have failed to qualify for the finals of the tournament, and that pattern continued when they lost 3-1 to Ukraine in the semi-final of the FIFA World Cup qualifiers, a UEFA second round. A country traumatized by war, Ukraine's football team put up a resilient and brave display to trump Steve Clark's side. Goals from Andriy Yarmolenko and Roman Yaremchuk put the Ukrainians in a comfortable position. Arsenal captain Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang left the Gabon squad early and boarded a flight to London ahead of their final World Cup qualifier according to reports in Africa, but the reason behind his departure is not yet known. The Gunners frontman netted the winner for his country last Friday as they beat Libya 1-0, but Gabon and Aubameyang's side were unable to set up a winner-takes-all showdown ahead of the final game against Egypt, who have already booked their place at next December's tournament. The Arsenal striker was therefore left out of the squad, although the reasons behind his absence are yet to have been confirmed. How unable to qualify for Qatar 2022. Italy goalkeeper Gianluigi Donnarumma has spoken out after his team missed out on 2022 FIFA World Cup qualification following the 1-0 loss to North Macedonia in the playoffs. The result saw the four-time world champions failing to qualify for the World Cup in Qatar. 5 years ago, the Azzurri had missed out on the 2018 World Cup in Russia after losing to Sweden in the playoffs. Writing on his Instagram page today, Donnarumma commented on the defeat to North Macedonia and looked ahead to the future. "We wanted to participate in the World Cup, to experience the extraordinary emotions that these competitions can give, to give smiles to the Italians who accompanied us a few months ago to the conquest of the European Championship. Unfortunately, it will not be like that. We are very disappointed and we know how much all Italians are, just like us. But we also know that in football, as in life, you have to look ahead and get back in the game. Our task is to bring the national team back to where it deserves to be and to build, step by step, a winning future." For Azzurri, it was unfair to lay a significant amount of blame on the 23-year-old keeper. The defenders could have closed down quickly and prevent Tragowski from taking a shot on goal. It's also not Donnarumma's fault that Italy failed to convert 32 chances created. It wasn't a great month for Donnarumma as questions were raised about the Italian keeper's mistake during his club PSG's Champions League second leg loss to Real Madrid a few weeks ago. Real Madrid won the match 3-1 courtesy of Karim Benzema's hat-trick and went through to the quarter-finals of the competition. Benzema netted the opening goal courtesy of an error by the young keeper. Meanwhile, Donnarumma is a highly talented goalkeeper who has proven himself at the big stage. He will remain Italy's number one, as he rightly should, and now it seems he'll have to win back the hearts of Italians again. Liverpool's Colombia forward Luis Diaz is set to miss the World Cup after being ruled out until December with a knee injury, according to reports on Monday. Diaz suffered the injury during the first half of Liverpool's 3-2 defeat at Arsenal in the Premier League on Sunday. The 25-year-old left the Emirates Stadium on crutches with his knee in a brace. Scans have revealed Diaz does not require surgery, but it has been reported the injury will keep him out until after the World Cup, which starts in Qatar on November 20th. The Reds already have a host of injury problems, with Trent Alexander-Arnold waiting for the results of tests on an ankle injury suffered against Arsenal. David Alaba is not playing in the Qatar World Cup because his country Austria failed to qualify for the tournament. It usually happens that some most famous players failed to take part in the World Cup because they represent small countries who do not have the potential to qualify for the World Cup. Norway finished fourth in Group F of FIFA World Cup European Qualifiers 2022-23. They able to secure just 5 wins out of 10 matches. David Alaba has been excellent at club level after helping his team to league titles and Champions Leagues. However, his stint with his country is not impressive after he failed to prevent Austria from losing to Wales in their UEFA playoff semi-final. It is quite unfortunate for Austria to miss the World Cup as they are currently the 34th ranked team on FIFA's world ranking, but due to the fixed quotas for each continent, they failed to qualify. The last appearance of Austria at the FIFA World Cup came in 1988. Since then, the country has been unable to qualify. Zlatan Ibrahimovic's future is yet to be decided, though it won't be the case for much longer. The Swede missed out on the 2022 World Cup, which would have been the third World Cup of his career. Lewandowski, Zielinski and Poland prevented him from capping his fantastic career in December. Could this signal an early retirement? Anything is possible. The future? I hope to keep going as long as I'm healthy and can contribute, he told the media after being eliminated in the World Cup playoff final. Not a definitive statement, especially given the way his season is going. Algeria may regret the decision to allow Riyad Mahrez to leave the team camp to sort out his club future. Without its best player, Algeria lost 3-1 in Zambia in World Cup qualifying on Saturday to stay last in its group. The defeat to a Zambia team that played most of the second half with 10 men leaves Algeria, Africa's top-ranked team a few years ago, with little hope of making it to Russia next year. The North Africans are one of 3 teams that represented Africa at the last World Cup, which are highly unlikely to repeat in 2018. African champion Cameroon and Ghana are also way off the pace in their groups. Mahrez was given permission by Algerian officials to travel back to Europe in the hope of securing a move away from Leicester in time for the transfer deadline. A transfer didn't happen for Mahrez and, with the winger unable to get to Zambia in time. The 7th of those teams is Colombia, who endured a miserable end to 2021. The South American side haven't started the current year well either. Reinaldo Rueda's side has simply been dreadful and are now in danger of missing out on World Cup qualification following a 1-0 defeat to Argentina. The dire performances and poor results have left Rueda on the brink of losing his job, with Colombia now winless in their last 7 qualifying games. Colombia have drawn 4 and lost 3 times in that period, culminating in the team's poorest run of form in recent years. James Rodriguez, Juan Cuadrado and Miguel Borja have been unable to inspire the rest of their teammates despite being the leaders in the squad. Nothing seems to be working for Colombia at the moment, and it's only a matter of time before Rueda is sacked as recompense. Chile midfielder Arturo Vidal received a 3-match ban and was fined 5,000 Swiss francs, around $5,400, for serious foul play in a 2022 World Cup qualifier against Ecuador, FIFA said on Friday. The FIFA disciplinary committee also ordered Chile to play their next home qualifiers behind closed doors because of the bad behavior of fans. Vidal was sent off 13 minutes into the November 16 fixture in Santiago after striking Felix Torres with a boot to the face in an aerial duel. Ecuador won the match 2-0. The ruling means the Inter Milan player will not return to the international stage until Chile's last World Cup qualifier, a home fixture against Uruguay in late March. Chile are currently 6th in the 10-team South American zone qualifying standings. The top 4 teams will earn an automatic World Cup berth while the 5th-ranked side will advance to an intercontinental playoff. The European Football Association has published the list of the players in the both teams ahead of the 2022 World Cup qualifiers game set to take place in the Bosnian central town of Zenica at 3 p.m. but without Bosnia's best striker and the team's captain on it. The information was confirmed by Dzeko himself on his Facebook page. He said that despite the medical team's efforts, he is not ready to take part in the game. Dzeko suffered an injury during the last match for his club Inter Milan, and his attendance in the Saturday game has been uncertain since then. He was seen with the team during the last training session on Friday. Liverpool's superstar carried his country to Russia 2018 4 years ago, so he will sure be missed by fans around the globe. His presence would have been a boost for the FIFA World Cup ratings, though the Egyptian attacker won't be there. Find out why Salah will not represent his country in Qatar 2022. There have been superstars coming up from a lot of countries thanks to soccer globalization, that sometimes turns into powerful national teams, but there are times where that supreme talent is a lonely exception in the squad, Salah can definitely headline that second group. Egypt had a great year in terms of their journey, though they were just too unlucky in key situations. In the beginning of 2022, they made it to the Africa Cup of Nations final, before losing in the penalty shootout against Senegal. Fate determined that these two teams were also going to decide who was going to take a spot for Qatar 2022. The Egyptians were able to keep up with the Senegalese despite the gap in talent, so much so that they took everything to the penalties yet again after a 1-1 overall score. That's exactly where their hopes of being in the FIFA World Cup disappeared since they lost that way for the second time in a matter of weeks. In all, Salah will not be in Qatar 2022 because Egypt couldn't qualify for it.
Erling Haaland is not playing in the Qatar World Cup because his country Norway failed to qualify for the tournament. It usually happens that some most famous players failed to take part in the World Cup because they represent small countries who do not have the potential to qualify for the World Cup. Norway finished third in their qualification group. Netherlands and Turkey were ahead of Norway. The team's performance definitely improved after the arrival of Haaland, but he missed a large number of World Cup qualifiers due to injury. Norway has participated 3 times in the FIFA World Cup, 1938, 1994, 1998. They last qualified to the tournament in 1998. It is quite unfortunate for Norway to miss the World Cup as they are currently the 22nd ranked team on FIFA's world ranking, but due to the fixed quotas for each continent, they failed to qualify. Haaland has scored 21 goals in 23 games for his nation. The youngster will surely try his best to lead his country to the next World Cup. It will be realistic for Norway to qualify for the 2026 edition of the World Cup because it will have 48 teams including 16 European teams.